Good morning, everyone. How's it going today? Today we're going to be talking about AJAX and how to do this in WordPress. I'm going to show you a few examples with a website that we were working with just a moment ago. And the idea is that by the end of this video, you will be able to create your own AJAX requests to fetch any data that you want, and you will understand how AJAX works on the back end. All right. So let's get right into it, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Alright, so let's get started. First of all, we're going to open this website that we had started creating before. It's just a template that we started working on in a previous video. And it's basically just a very simple WordPress theme, alright? But first of all, before actually starting to develop an AJAX request right here, let's talk about what an AJAX request is. All right. For this, I'm just going to use this very neat AJAX how to do AJAX in WordPress correctly article that I published in Medium. So we're going to go through it just as a companion for this article. Okay. So first of all, what you should understand is that WordPress has its own way of implementing AJAX calls, okay? It already comes out of the box, so it might be a little bit different if you're already used to using AJAX in other frameworks, okay? In case you're like in a hurry or something like that, here in this article that I'm going to put in the description, you already have the snippets that you can use for PHP, of course, also the snippets for using jQuery, and the snippets for using Axios, which is just another HTTP request library that you can use, okay? But first of all, let's start by defining AJAX and what it is and what it is not, okay? So let's start by saying what AJAX is not. Because I think that sometimes there is some sort of misconception about this. AJAX is not a new programming language. It's not a new or different JavaScript library or PHP library. Okay, it's not even a different technology. What it is just a different way of using languages and frameworks that already exist. Okay, so you can use AJAX in different frameworks, and this doesn't change at all what AJAX is in its sense. It's basically just a technique that appeared in the 1990s and in the early 2000s, and the idea is that it allows you to update the content of your page without actually reloading the page, okay? That's actually what's really revolutionary about this technique. Until then, I mean, before AJAX, in the world of just regular websites, if you wanted to add new content to your page, you would have to actually reload the entire page. And in that case, you would have to ask your server to fetch all of the data, including the new data, all right? So imagine that I wanted just to click a button to update, I don't know, mailbox, an inbox. Up until then, before AJAX, if you clicked on reload or load more messages in my inbox, it would actually load everything in your page again, just for the one or two new messages that you wanted. So that was just a waste of resources. Okay, so reloading an entire page for only a single element was not really resource effective. What AJAX allows you to do is to update a particular part of your website with some information from your server without refreshing the entire website. In other words, this is basically what single page applications do all the time. They do not refresh the website, they just ask the server for some particular information and then they display it inside your application without actually reloading your application. That's basically what single page applications like the ones that you build in React or Angular or Vue do. That's what this kind of frameworks do. And in WordPress, we can do pretty much the same thing while using PHP. All right, let me just move away from the light. There you go. So here's just a very simple diagram to show you how it works. So just to be clear, before, what would happen when you would do a simple HTTP request is you have your client, which is your web browser, and you would ask your server for a certain information, and then your server would fetch that information from the database and then send it back to your website, but it would send back the entire page, okay? The difference with the AJAX model is that you have your client, which then calls your AJAX engine, which is built in JavaScript, and then you send that request to your server. Your server analyzes that and treats that fetch request, that AJAX request, and then sends back only the information that you needed, okay? And then it's with JavaScript that you actually update the content of your website. So that's how this goes. The techniques really came from the realization that you could use JavaScript to update your website even without refreshing. So let's go through the steps of a regular AJAX request, okay? So first of all, you would need to define a trigger. That's the thing that will actually trigger your AJAX request. So for example, let's say that you click on refresh inbox, or you can click on load more posts, or you can click on just send your email to a newsletter, or sign up for a newsletter. These are kind of the triggers that trigger your AJAX request, okay? Once the trigger is sent, then you send your request with JavaScript to your server, and then your server, let's say that you send a request with the question, are there any new messages in my inbox? Then third step is your server receives that request, and it executes the appropriate function to treat that request, and then sends back the new information, for example, the new messages for your inbox. Then your JavaScript code now catches that response to the server, and without refreshing the website, it just adds those new 3 messages to your mailbox. So no refreshing of the entire page, just the inbox part of it. All right, so that's pretty much just a very basic explanation of how AJAX works. I mean, I'm not going to get into how XML works, or how these requests work without these libraries. I'm just going to show you how to do this in WordPress, okay? So that's the theory, okay? Now let's get to do this in WordPress. Now WordPress has a very unique way of handling AJAX requests. It requires you to use a specific file called admin AJAX that you can find in WP admin. And I mean, not in your WP admin, but in WP admin, the folder, the directory in your WordPress installation. And only then from this file, you will be able to actually get the information inside your functions.php, okay? So let's show you on the codes how this works so that you can actually understand what's going on here, okay? So for this, as we mentioned before, we're going to create a trigger. That's the first step. And here we have just a little button right here, but let's use a different one. Let's just create a different one that's going to be called call AJAX request or something like that. So for that, I'm going to get inside the content of this website. Then let's see the themes. And this theme, if I'm not mistaken, was called My Awesome Theme. So there you go. There we have it. Here I have the code. There you go. I hope you can see everything. I'm just going to put this here and here. There you go. So I hope you can see everything. Let's see my front page. There you go. And this right here is this button right here. So what I'm going to do is just add a new button beside it. I'm going to call it AJAX, okay? There you go. Wait. Like that. There you go. I'm going to remove the URL for this one. If you don't know how we created this template, I suggest that you watch that video about converting HTML to template to WordPress theme. It's very, very useful. There is no target either, and inside the text for the button, we're just going to call it make AJAX request. Okay. We save this, we refresh here, and here we have it. We have make AJAX request. That's our new button. And this right here is going to be our trigger, okay? So let's write our trigger. There you go. Let me just show you one more thing right here. I'm just gonna put this on the side. Just gonna put this on the side. There you go. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to define this trigger in our JavaScript. Okay. So to do this, I mean, you would usually do this in a different file. Of course, you wouldn't want to put your scripts inside your template, but this is just to show you how it works. Okay. So first of all, we would have to define this trigger, and we would do this pretty much like this. Let's just define my AJAX button, and let's call it from the document. We call it with a get element by ID, and this one's going to have an ID of AJAX button. Okay, and let me just add this ID right here. There you go. ID, there you go, at AJAX button. So there we have it. And let's say that when we click on it, we're going to do the AJAX request. There you go. When we click on it, we're going to do the AJAX request. Okay, so we're going to require an event listener. So let's add that one, my AJAX button, add event listener, and let's say that we're going to listen to clicks. And to this, we're going to add an function, a callback function that's going to, for the moment, we're just going to console log our button, okay? My AJAX button, clicked my AJAX button, okay? So there we go. Let's see if this works. Let's refresh right here and open the terminal. We have an error here, but it doesn't come from what we're working on, so we can ignore it for a moment. We click on here and we see that we see clicked and AJAX button, so it's working. And inside here, what we're going to do is we're going to add our AJAX in JavaScript. Okay. Now, when I'm working with WordPress, I usually code my AJAX requests with jQuery. Just because it's extremely simple and extremely straightforward, but you can use any HTTPS request library that you want. I mean, some people like to use Axios, or if you're inside JavaScript, you can also use fetch. But since we're inside jQuery, I just like using that one. It just makes it very, very simple because jQuery already comes out of the box with WordPress. And if it doesn't, I'm going to show you what to do to actually activate it. Okay, so we're going to call jQuery.ajax method, and inside here we're going to add the type of the request, which is going to be post. Then we're going to say to which URL we want to actually send this request, and as I told you before, we need to send this request to admin.ajax.php. Okay. Now, some people just use the default AJAX object for JS in WordPress. I think they actually make it, let me see where it is, AJAX in plugins. I think they actually make it available inside AJAX object, I think. No, what's the name? They send it to they send it to AJAX URL. Yeah, supposedly, I mean, you have AJAX URL that's already defined in every WordPress site, but I don't like doing it that way because, I mean, what if AJAX URL is not defined for some reason? So I just like manually type it in. And to actually manually type it in, you would have to type something like this. And we're going to add window.location.origin. This basically is going to return the origin of any request, which is going to be my assume website.local. That's, I mean, but it's just going to return the home URL of your website. Okay. And then to this, I just add WP admin and then admin.ajax.php. This is going to send a request to this file that I was telling you about. That's the PHP, that's the WordPress default like place where you actually can manage your HTTP, your AJAX requests. So another argument that we're going to take is we're going to take the data that we're going to send, and inside here you can send any data that you want. It's going to be processed by WordPress. But there's just one very important thing that you need to add here. You need to add an object with a key of action, okay? And you're going to name this one with a name that whichever name you want, but you need to keep it on the side and to remember this very well because we're going to use this one in a moment, okay? So action, we're going to call it for the moment my custom action, let's say. And then I just like, I mean, you can just add your data right here, data 1, data 2, in a JavaScript object, but I just like to add a new object called data or AJAX data, let's say. And then inside it, I can actually send all my data. And this one right here, you can add any JavaScript object, but I'm just going to add a custom JavaScript object, let's say my data. And we're going to set it equal to a JavaScript object, and we're going to say, let's say that we're going to send user information to the server. Okay, so let's say the user number 1 data is this is the user 1 data. There you go. Then you have user number 2. This is another user's data. And basically what we're doing here is this is the data that we're going to send our server, and this is the data that our server is going to actually process. Right now we're right here in this part of the steps, right? So we're actually creating our HTTP request that we're going to send to the server. And this is the data that we're going to send. So I'm just going to add it right here, my data. There you go. There you go. So now, just to make everything clear, we're adding an event listener to this button right here. And once we click on it, we're actually sending this jQuery AJAX request, okay? And last but not least, we need to add a complete argument right here. And this one right here is going to take another function. And this is basically, let me just move you here, there you go. This is basically just what you want your server to do, I mean your page to do with the response from the server, okay? So right here we're going to add a function, an anonymous function with the response from the server. And let's say that for the moment we just want to console log it, okay? So this right here is going to send us the response from the server that we're going to get. Let's go ahead and test it. We're right here, and I'm just going to refresh here, and I'm going to click on make AJAX request, okay? So this, by clicking, is going to send the AJAX request to our server. If we click on it, of course, we're going to have an error. We have a 404 because it didn't actually find admin-ajax for some reason. Admin-ajax, WP admin, local. Yeah, I think it's pretty much, I mean, I'm not sure why you returned a 400 error. I would have guessed that it would be a 500 error. But I mean, what we're having here is that we're sending something to our server, and we're not telling the server that we actually want to treat that request. So the server has no idea that, I mean, it just receives that request and it's like, yeah, so I don't have anything right here for you. So let's just call the AJAX request on the PHP side, okay? To do this on the PHP side, all you have to do is basically just add an action. Let's say add action. And this action right here is going to catch your AJAX request, okay? So this action takes WP AJAX as a hook, and then right here you need the name of the action that you sent here. And this is why I told you that this was very important, because WordPress is going to create hooks for your action in AJAX. I mean, this is why I told you that WordPress makes it extremely easy, because everything is already set up. And the second one is going to take your function that you want to do. Do this when AJAX, when button clicked. I mean, I'm making this extremely verbose. You would never call a function like this in real life, but just so you see what's going on, okay? And then I have to define that function, and then I just have to say what WordPress is going to do inside of this function, okay? So for the moment, as you will see, we have all our data inside our post, inside our post variable. This right here, I mean, WordPress is going to make all the data available inside this variable, okay? So in other words, everything that's right here is going to be right here, okay? So what we're actually interested in is the element that's called AJAX data. So let's call it right here. Let's say that my data is going to be equal to post, and inside here, it's AJAX data, okay? So AJAX data. So right here, we're setting my data equal to all of our post requests, only AJAX data. So it's my data. So it's going to be this one right here. That's going to be inside, stored inside my post variable, okay? And then, just to show you how this works, what we're going to do is we're going to send it back to our client, all right? So to do this, we just do WP send JSON to send a JSON to our client, and then we say what we want to send it. I'm just going to send my data back, okay? This is basically, I mean, extremely simple, just going to send this data to the server and then send it back, okay? This is all I'm doing. So right now there's another thing that we need to do. We have to add actually 2 of these hooks to PHP, okay? So the first one is WP AJAX my custom action, and the second one is WP AJAX no pref my custom action, okay? This is basically just how WordPress works. It actually creates 2 hooks for your AJAX requests. This one is going to be triggered whenever your user makes the AJAX request, and this one right here is going to be triggered whenever a member that's not someone that's not a user in your WordPress installation, someone who's not a user sends a request, okay? So this one right here is when the website user is not signed in, and this one is when the website user is signed in. So, I mean, basically you would always want to add both, because, I mean, you would usually create your AJAX request for everyone that's using your website, okay? This one right here is pretty much just for creating AJAX requests from the WP admin, I mean, from the backend, that you actually only want your signed in users to have access to it, okay? So in general, you would always add the 2 actions, and then you would add the same function as a callback to both actions, so that the same function is always triggered for both, okay? So let's see how this works. I'm just going to save this and let's go back here. Let's refresh and let's click on make AJAX request. So I click here and you can see that we don't have an error anymore. We have ready state for everything, etc. Then you have right here response JSON, and then you have right here our data that we're sending back. Okay, so the function WP send JSON sends a very complex array, a very complex JSON element. But inside it, you have the response JSON element, which is the actual response that you're interested in. So let's fix this right here. Instead of actually console logging everything, we're just going to console log response JSON element, okay? So let's add that one right here, insert, up. We're just going to be interested in response JSON. We save, we refresh, we make AJAX request again, and now we have that all we got is the AJAX user 1 and user 2, which is the data that we sent initially. We caught it in our server and we sent it back just as we found it, okay? So let's suppose, just as final part of this video, let's suppose that you want to, add different data to these users, okay? So let's say right here, we're sending user 1, this is user 1 data, and user 2, this is users 2 data. And let's modify it, okay? So let's say that in my data, we want the user 1, that's the name, right? User 1, we want the user 1 to be, this is the server response for user 1, and then let's do the same for user 2. We're just going, I'm just simulating, and making as though we were actually doing something with this data that we sent to our server. Right here you can actually do whatever you want. You can fetch new posts and return the new posts to your JavaScript. You can fetch the users from your WordPress. You can add new functionalities. You can add pretty much anything. You can send your user data to a newsletter, CRM. You can do anything you want in here, and then you just send a response, okay? And then let's say my data user 1, user 2, this is server response for user 2, for user 1. Okay, so let's save this one. And as you can see, we're sending the data. This is user 1 data, this is user 2 data, and we should get back this as a response, okay? So I'm going to save this, going to refresh this just to clean this up. Actually realized we don't have, this was very small, so I'm zooming in right now. And if I click on make AJAX request, there you have it. Now you have the response. This is server response for user 1 and server response for user 2. So basically what's going on is that we treated our data that we sent from the front end and we modified it in the back end, and then we sent back the modified data from the server. And we did that. Right now what we could actually do is just use it inside our page, okay? So like right here we could just add, you wouldn't usually actually use inner HTML, but let's say that you want this to be, let's update the inner HTML of my AJAX button, okay? This is not something you would actually do, but inner HTML equals response, response JSON, let's see, response.json dot, what is it? User 1, okay? So right now we're actually, let me show you this, make AJAX request, click here, and then this is the server response for user 1. You can see that we changed it, and that basically updated the state, the inner HTML of our page without actually reloading the page. That's the magic of AJAX, and that's how it works. Now, as a bonus, we can do the same thing that we did right here with Axios, but when I'm working with, I mean, if you know how to use Axios, just basically it's just the same thing, but you would have to import Axios from npm, etc. I'm not going to show you how to do that here, but basically it's pretty much the same. You just import Axios, require, something important about this if you're using a different library is that when you post or you send the data, you need to stringify it. Right here I'm just using this library called QS to stringify the data, but you don't send the actual JavaScript object. You just stringify it before you send it, and then you get it back, and etc. Okay, just this is very important. It would cost you some headaches if you're having trouble with it. And another common error that I see is that when you call your AJAX request like this, you might get something like jQuery not defined or something like that. Okay, let me show you how what it looks like. I mean this. Yeah, let me show you how that looks like. I think I have it in my footer, and there it is. Yeah, just going to comment this out. Just going to refresh, and let's close this, and I'm going to click here, and then uncut error, jQuery is not defined. All right, that happens when jQuery, I mean WordPress has jQuery by default, but you do have to enqueue it or to include it in your website. In here, I included it in my footer, so it's actually working. But if you don't include it in your footer, a very simple thing that you can do is you come to your functions.php, and wherever you included your assets, I mean, I'm just going to come right here, but if you don't know how to include assets, check the video on how to include JavaScript, how to include CSS or JS into your WordPress theme. But the idea is that you come right here and you do WP enqueue script, and since it's already registered in WordPress, you just type jQuery like that, and that should make it work. I mean, I'm not sure it's going to work. I'm going to keep this commented out. I just added this thing right here. I'm just going to refresh this right here. I'm going to click here, and it works right now because now we have jQuery. Okay, so just remember, if you're getting the error jQuery not defined, just enqueue it to your WP enqueue scripts, or you can add it by hand to your footer like this. I mean, right here I just imported it like this. This is not the best thing to do, but this was how it was configured in the template, so I didn't move that. So there you go. There you have it. That's how to do AJAX requests, and I hope that you found it useful, and yeah, I hope that you wait. Something's not working, but now, yeah, I think that, yeah, there was a problem with this footer. There you go. Functions. Yeah, there you go. So yeah, I hope you found this useful. I hope that you like this, and I hope that you now know how to use AJAX requests, and that you actually now understand how it works on the backend and what it is actually an AJAX request, what it means. So AJAX requests are by no means particular to WordPress, and they're actually the main thing that's going on in a single page application. And this way to implement them in WordPress just allows you to add some sort of single page application feel to your WordPress website, even though WordPress is not particularly made to handle single page applications. This is basically, you can use this for loading more posts in a page, or for adding different, adding a user to your newsletter, etc. I hope you found this good, useful, and I will see you next time. Please make sure to like and subscribe so that you don't miss out on the next videos. And if you want, you can also follow me on Medium. You can check out the snippets that I added for you right here. I'll add the link in the description. So see you around, and I guess have a good day. I'll see you next time.